Okay. Good afternoon to everyone. We are here in the last debate of today. We have two great teams that are going to fight for and against the issue of are corporations destroying young people's futures. In the fourth team, we have Kehkashan Basu, United Nations Human Rights Champion and winner of 2016 International Children's Peace Prize, and Arup Ganguly, Board Director of the Global Gene Corporation. Big round of applause.
That was a lot of £5 notes.
Yeah. There you go, good. Started working before the debate, I see. Against the motion, we have Yemi Babington-Ashaye, economist. Oh. Somebody that worked even more before the debate. And Neil Carberr, Managing Director of People and Infrastructure. No, I don't know how familiar you are with the debate format, but first we're going to vote. Each one of you has a small keyboard that you're going to use. Only the three top buttons. You're going to vote A if you are for the motion, B if you're against, and C if you're undecided. The debate is going to be, there you have the three. The debate is going to be defined by, the winner of the debate is going to be defined by how much people are moved from their initial position. That's why it's very important for you to vote. And if you are undecided, please vote undecided. So you're going to have 10 seconds from now. Oh, a lot of undecided, majority. Good. Guys, you have a tough job, eh? So we have 33% for the motion, 22% against the motion, and 44% undecided. So these guys are going to have a tough job today. And let's start the debate. The initial speaker is going to have 5 minutes, and then Kehkashan is going to start for the motion. Please take the mic and your 5 minutes. Kehkashan, I'm just going to say 30 seconds when there is 30 seconds left, okay?
Cool. Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, everyone. As I stand before you today as a 17-year-old, I can't help but think about how fortunate I am to stand in such comfortable, air-conditioned surroundings, especially as 168 million children like me are out there scavenging, begging, or toiling in some sweatshop stitching designer clothes, whereas they should rightfully be in school. That is the harsh reality that stares at us, but which we choose to ignore. I'm sure most of you carry smartphones. Every smartphone that we carry uses an alloy called coltan, 80% of which comes from Congo, dug out from the hillsides by bonded child slaves with their bare hands. This has been going on for years and continues still because the economics of the trade is blind to the reality on the ground. And the simple truth is that we are expendable, and it is the corporations who get billions of dollars from these operations. They simply couldn't care less. And the irony of the situation is that these same corporations even ordered a fact-finding team which reported that it was the lack of governance in Congo that was to blame for the exploitation of these children, thus absolving themselves of any blame. So whether it is coltan or blood diamonds, these corporations suffer from the syndrome, which I like to call selective myopia, which prevents them from viewing the reality of the situation. Now, according to the WHO, 5,000 children die every day from diarrhea, primarily due to drinking contaminated water. And our freshwater resources are going and decreasing at an alarming rate. And despite this, the fourth largest freshwater body in the world, the Aral Sea, which covered an area larger than Switzerland 3 decades ago, is now a desert because the rivers that fed the Aral Sea were diverted by the corporations of the erstwhile Soviet Union to feed their agricultural and industrial needs elsewhere. And this did not happen overnight. It transpired over 30 long years, right in front of everyone, and yet no one seemed to care. The economic powerhouses of the developed nations, they used the third world nations as a dumping ground for the toxic effluents of their industries. They increase their CO2 emissions with impunity and expect the third world nations to offset them. Their armaments industry sells billions of dollars worth of bombs and missiles to mercenaries, despite knowing the death and destruction that will follow. Every now and then we hear of children being shot in US schools, and the farcical response is not to shut down the gun industries, but to arm the teachers instead. Our world now has more refugees than it did during World War II. And every time you turn on the TV, the harrowing images of the Syrian refugee children stare back at you. Have any of you ever been to a refugee camp? I have. And 2 months back, I traveled to the Lebanese border to a refugee camp which housed over 600 Syrian refugee children. We took clothes, books, and toys for them, and we conducted environmental workshops. There were girls there younger than me who were already mothers. They lost the smile on their faces because they had lost their parents and homes. They were devastated by the same bombs that these industries keep churning out. And what is the response of the corporates? A magical acronym called CSR. The strategy is to first knowingly commit the folly, collect your billions, and then absolve yourselves using the media-hyped CSR. This must change. If corporations are to be truly socially responsible, then it must not come as an afterthought. It must be ingrained in every single decision that they take. The fact that Smith & Wesson or Kalashnikov employs people does not give them the license to kill people, innocent people elsewhere. And only when the leaders of these corporations face and see the tragedy themselves will they realize the enormity of their folly. And until then, we will keep debating about it like we're doing right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Kehkashan. Yemi? Yemi now will argue as the first speaker against our corporations destroying our children's future. Grab the mic and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. The right honorable lady and the right honorable gentleman will speak very well for this motion. But you are here because you were asked to employ your own agency and decide for yourselves. This question is essentially about, is business bad for young people? Did you register that? Is business bad for young people? I want you to register that. That is what you are voting on. The answer has to be a resounding no. Private sector helps us to do more and to be more. And I want you to vote B. On this day, 168 years ago, today, 18th of March, a gentleman called Henry Wells, William Fargo, registered a company that we all know. They registered it in New York. Now, this company was in the business of express delivery. Things you need desperately. Who was going to solve that problem? Business. Who was making it happen? Young people. They were so good that they had a near monopoly. When the First World War broke out, who did the British government ask to deliver letters, relief parcels, money to soldiers fighting for our freedom? It was this company. Did they ask a military unit to do it? No. It was this company. Now, we all know this company, but it wasn't only 100 years after they started that we perhaps know their most famous product. And this is because they discovered how difficult it was for people to access credit. Would any one of you like more money? More credit? Yeah. So 100 years later, around 1957, they launched a charge card, a credit card. This company is called, any guesses? Not Wells Fargo. Come on, you know it. I give you a hint. Express. Thank you very much. American Express. Today, company employs about 55,000 people. It has about 110 million cards in circulation. It is changing lives. But it's not the only one doing this. I use this because we're talking about corporations, but this is really a question about business and young people. Now you have agency, and these young people also have agency. Is business bad for young people? Should we ask young people? Should we ask young people? I think so. So we've asked young people. And you have access. You can go after the debate or even right now. shapersurvey.org. Check your devices. It's a survey with over 30,000 responses from 186 countries and territories. And we asked them, what empowers young people the most in your country? I want to introduce you to the concept that we call the Holy Trinity. Every year we've run this survey. It doesn't matter what country participates. There are 3 things that empower young people the most. And number 4 is a distant fourth. It is these top 3 things. Young people are speaking. Don't listen to me. Listen to them. The top 3 things, the members of the Holy Trinity. Are you ready? A startup ecosystem and support for entrepreneurs. That's business. Number 2, access to the internet. That's business doing that. Number 3, free press and social media. And that's business doing that. Do these young people believe that business helps them to do more, be more, and vote B? Yes, they do. I hope we have your votes. Please vote B. We have to listen to young people. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Yemi. Second speaker for the motion, Arup. You have your 5 minutes.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for attending the graveyard shift. Now, first of all, I don't always dress like this. I've done this for you, all of you guys. But anyway, I'm here to argue for the motion, which is, do corporations destroy young people's futures? Now, nobody's questioning whether companies should exist. We're saying, do they actually behave in a way that nurtures and develops people for the future world, right? I'm not questioning whether American Express should exist. They should. I use them all day long. They're great. But do they behave in a way that helps young people deal with the future? So anyway, I'm a banker, or was a banker. So when I tell you that corporations do destroy young people's futures, you should believe me. I'm a banker. and a corporate CEO. I've never had to explain myself to you. I'm a CEO. You do as you're told. Oh, but you people want answers. You want answers. Okay. Let me preface this by saying, look, I've worked for 30 years in industry and in finance. I haven't worked in the tech sector, so that's not an experience I've had. So everything I tell you today is really based upon my experiences over 30 years. I'm not going to throw you lots of stats at you because I don't have any. If I gave any stats to you because I'm a banker, I'd be making them up. So I'm not going to, and look, we all know that stats are stats. You can find any stat that fits an argument. So I'm not going to throw numbers at you. But here's the headline. Here's a headline. Corporations and corporate CEOs and senior managers don't have a Scooby-Doo, and nor do they care about what young people think and what their aspirations are. Heck, they don't understand young people. If you don't understand young people, how are you going to tell them or help them deal with the future? You haven't got a clue. Secondly, corporations love to perpetuate cultures and business models that are no longer fit for purpose. Hand-me-down business cultures. Never changes. Anyway, as a corporate CEO, I've already lied to you. I wasn't going to throw one number at you. One stat. Not really a stat, but numbers I've picked up through various websites. The average European CEO in Europe is somewhere between 45 and 55 years old, and a manager is somewhere in their 40s. Got their first mobile phone 20 years ago, Then they somehow discovered the internet, and then they in my case, 3 months ago, discovered Twitter. They've only lived with this technology for part of their lives. Millennials, the people we're trying to hire and nurture, have lived with this technology all their lives. That's how they communicate. That's how they think. We don't even speak the same language. How am I going to tell you how to lead your life, how to deal with the future? How am I going to nurture you? How am I going to develop you? I don't get you. I don't get you. Sorry, I'm old. I still have paper and memory issues, and last night didn't help. See, so I know that, for example, I was growing up at 100 friends. I was really popular. I had 100 friends and I had no virtual friends. My kids have 5 physical friends each and thousands of virtual friends. They're a whole new ecosystem, a whole new culture. They're a whole new species. They're not us. We cannot purport to tell them or develop them for the future. We don't understand them. Millennials think in a modular way. They focus on what interests them. They tend to discard things that are useless in terms of in their heads. I saw a headline last week of some CEO being interviewed, and he said, millennials, they're just like the rest of us. They just want to make money. If anybody's ever spoken to a young person and said, what matters to you in your career, they say, impact. I want it to matter. Money comes like sort of 4th or 5th. Millennials don't care that much about money. They want their job to matter, and they want life balance. These are the things that matter to them. So wrong, corporate CEO, you don't even understand what these people want. How are you going to nurture them? There's an openness to young people too. I was from an industry, and for thousands of years, we've made money by arbitraging people and relationships and information, keeping things to ourselves, not sharing. That's how we made money. We would do a trade or put a transaction through when it made sense for us and our pockets. It's only then we'd connect people and join the dots. Young people love joining dots. They've lived with social media. They've shared from day one. They share their friends. They share information. They don't keep secrets. We've been keeping secrets, except, of course, not the Honourable Speaker. He never keeps secrets. Sucking up to the big man, it's always helpful. The new generation wants to join dots. Moreover, traditional management ethos tells us to do the opposite. We're telling young people to swim against the current that technology is pushing upon us. How pointless and futile. Also, contrary to popular management speak, where they say, come and join my firm, you will flourish, and we'll encourage you and get you involved in everything. What do first-year undergraduates do? Make coffee, PowerPoint presentations. In my firm, we used to hire 100 graduates. At the end of the year, 10 will still be standing. The other 90 are sitting at home depressed because they're now unemployed. The 10 guys are scared now. They're scared. They're scared to take risk. They're scared to go against the grain. We're killing entrepreneurship because people are scared. They just want to keep their jobs, right? How does that help business? How does it help them deal with the future? They're scared now. It's made worse by this bully culture. Bully culture may be strong, but in corporate culture, we're told failure is bad. Failure should be reprimanded. Failure, you can be fired. Whereas we always told our kids, no, failing is good. People should be willing to fail. That's how you learn. You fall off your bike, you get back on. But in corporate culture, we're told, no, you fall off your bike, you stay there, mate. And in fact, the next guy's going to run you over. That's how corporate culture works. And normally when there's cutbacks, it's the young people that get cut first. That's a LIFO, guys. That's a LIFO. It's a little accounting joke there. And then of course, not all companies are the same, but I know that in some corporate cultures, and this culture comes to the top.
30 seconds.
You're told to play the game. You're told to play the game. Don't worry about the quality of your work. Make sure the big man upstairs thinks you're great. It's about management. It's about perception. And if I can just finish off, I had so much more. Really, I didn't know. We haven't even talked about Me Too. We haven't talked about racism. We haven't talked about sexism. We haven't talked about these things that are part of corporate culture. This doesn't help young people. That's it. Is my time up, Doctor?
You have 2 seconds more.
2 seconds. Okay, let me read my last line. Okay, this is the coup de grace. Okay, guys, all you old CEOs, introducing coffee lounges, putting yoga rooms in your department, and pretending you like Ed Sheeran doesn't make you down with the kids.
Thank you very much.
There you go.
Thank you, Arup. Neil, your 7 minutes to close the opening statements.
No one really likes Ed Sheeran. It's all a pretense. Honourable members, Mr. Speaker, thank you for the chance to take on this motion. And speaking last, I'm going to have to be quick and also bring you back to the question you've actually been asked. The question you've been asked is, are corporations destroying young people's lives? And as we've already heard from other speakers, both those making excellent points and those maybe less well advised, how you interpret that question is going to be critical. Our opponents have set out their case. It's an example here. It's an example there. There are terrible things going on in Congo. We all know that there are problems, were problems, and still are some problems in the financial sector. But if you vote yes to this motion, you are rejecting the private sector in its entirety. And we on this side of the House believe that the private sector does more harm than good, and we ask you to vote B because we believe that on average, business is delivering for our young people. Let me turn to. Thank you. Let me turn to 3 points. Firstly, opportunity. Yemi's already talked about what young people want. It's good to hear their voices in this debate. Jobs, opportunity, a road to success, all of that better through business. Living standards, jobs again, but also public services. And not just we get lost talking about corporation tax rates. Remember that most business taxes aren't corporation tax on profit. The biggest tax in India, union excise duty, a tax on business. The biggest business tax in the United Kingdom, national insurance, payroll taxes paid by business on their activity. And finally, sustainability. What is unique about what leading businesses are doing today is that it's them that is putting pressure on the Trump White House to live up to the Paris Accords and look again. It is businesses who have cut their emissions. Industry emissions are only 20% of global emissions now. We still have problems with climate change. We have to solve low carbon heat, but that is a household matter. And it comes to my critical point. Yes, there are problems in business. There are problems with sexism. There are problems with racism. But that is because business is not separate to society. It is of society. And it shares many of society's problems. So when I hear the opposition say business is to blame for everything that happens in the Congo, business is to blame for everything that happened in a country, the Soviet Union, which didn't have any corporations or any private sector activity, what I want to say is, yes, absolutely. Good governance matters. Yes, absolutely. Leading businesses have to pull the laggards along, and we are up for that fight on this side of the House. But that fight will be stymied by accepting this motion. One final point. The premise of this motion disempowers our young people. Because if young people want something different, they have the capacity in today's global economy. Most young people have the capacity to go and find it. If they don't want to work for corporations, it's not them who are going to have to change, it's the corporations. And we are seeing that day by day by day. So in closing, Mr. Speaker, let me be clear. What we're being offered on this side of the House is a pastiche of business being to blame for everything bad on the planet. What we are offering on this side of the House is humility. We know business is not perfect, but we know leading businesses are changing, and we can get into jurisdictions with poor governance and help the UN change them. So fight back against the sloganism. Don't go down the identity politics route being offered by the White House, being offered by proponents of issues like Brexit, or indeed vote with us, unlock the potential of our young people. This side is for a balanced vision of a global economy that is fair and innovative and delivering. Do more. Be more. Vote B.
Thank you, Neil. With this, we close the opening part of the arguments for and against. Now, there is a possibility for all of you to ask questions to either team. please just raise your hand and we'll approach a microphone to you so we can all listen to the question, and then both teams will have the opportunity of answering the questions. And finally, we will close with the closing remarks. Each team will have one speaker closing with 3 minutes remarks. Who wants to make the first question? Lady on the left, please, on the far side.
Okay, so I think my question is directed at Mr. Ganguly, and basically, you spoke about what millennials want, right? And the top 3 things, and the 4th one goes way behind and stuff. And you said that the main thing that they focus on and what they want to do is create an impact, and money doesn't matter. But how do you think that they're going to create an impact in the first place if they don't have the resources to do so?
You should stop paying people to
We've got all the money on this side of the house.
Sorry, I didn't catch your name.
Sorry?
Your name?
Medha.
Megha.
Not
Megha.
paying attention as usual.
I'm being personable. Megha,
No,
I'm not
she
saying money
didn't
doesn't
say the
matter.
name. Sorry. Please introduce yourself when you get the microphone.
I'm not saying money doesn't matter to them. I'm just saying it's not the most important thing. I think that many times, and I've been in business where I've spoken to colleagues who think that people around them only care about the money. And I've seen a great deal of unhappiness in business environment when managers ignore the kind of soft stuff, the human stuff, because they think it doesn't matter. We give them a good bonus at the end of the year, they'll go away, they won't care. So I'm not saying the money's important. Yeah, we've got to eat, right? I tell my kids that, you've got to eat. I know you want to be saints, but you still got to eat. Money's important.
Thank you. Next question, gentleman on the right, and then we have one here.
So we're here in an education conference, and if we're honest about what's happening with big corporations aggressively avoiding tax in the year that we've had the Paradise Papers, previously we've had the Panama Papers, we've had the Lux Leaks, there is industrial scale tax avoidance, aggressive tax avoidance and tax evasion, and this is robbing developing countries of the money they need to invest in public education systems. And let us be clear, $138 billion is lost by developing countries through aggressive tax avoidance, at least. $200 billion for all sorts of other scams and avoidance of tax by corporations. It is estimated that a lot of developing countries could double their education budgets if companies paid fair tax in the countries where they're making a profit. We are not seeing transparent country-by-country reporting by any leading corporations. And until corporations get their tax practices back into decent shape, you are causing more harm than good. You are damaging the future of youth, because youth depend on public services, particularly education, but all sorts of other public services that are being stripped bare by the wealthiest individuals and the wealthiest corporations in developing countries. This has got to change, and I'm going to vote on that side of the house until we see some change.
We have a question over here.
So I'm going to respond to that because I think it...
Yeah.
Let's be clear.
Of course you're allowed to respond.
Firstly, let's be clear about the difference between individuals and investors and corporates, because they're always treated the same. The Paradise Papers were largely an issue of individual investors. Often people who do something different to what they say, which is a hypocrisy that none of us should defend. I'm sorry we can't persuade you today. You came in to vote A and you will vote A. I respect your opinion. The critical issue is we live in a world where governments want to tax business income twice, and until collectively through the OECD and others, we are able to establish a serious global structure for corporate taxation, which is what I, speaking for the British business community, want to see, there will be this jurisdiction versus jurisdiction infighting, and the ability for those who wish it to arbitrage, because states actively go shopping with investment offers, as we saw with, for instance, Luxembourg. So once again, we come back to, yes, I agree with you, the system is broken. Yes, more tax should be paid in certain jurisdictions, but you cannot absolve the public sector of some of the blame for where we are, even if you do not approve some of the behaviors that corporates, and in particular high-tech net worth individuals, do. I still think that when taken in the round, the vast amount of tax that business does pay in almost all countries is a critical driver of our public services.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Dominic Shaw. I'm from South Africa. I'd just quickly like to note that the debate is about what corporations are doing, not what they should be doing. And corporations are currently destroying children's lives. And I'd like to ask the opposition where the evidence is that corporations which are primarily profit-driven, as we all know, are going to keep on supporting students and not destroying their lives in an age where we see that there is more and more drive towards automation, where they're actually taking away the jobs from children. So can we get some evidence that they're going to continue to actually give that support and not destroy children's lives? Thank you.
Great question. All right, ladies and gentlemen, please not be bedazzled or fooled by the trickery of this camp. This discussion is about, is business good for young people, yes or no? Don't be bedazzled. It's not about, unfortunately, can they change? That's a good debate. And that's what they came prepared for.
Please answer the question.
I will. But it's not about that. So please, don't be fooled. They have spoken themselves through the Shaper survey. Our unfortunate counterparts, I hope you know we're just role-playing, right? We really respect them. But our unfortunate counterparts did not come prepared at all. They want to talk about something else. As he admitted, he doesn't study any facts. He makes up facts. He wasn't a very good banker. I am answering the question. Now,
Order in the house.
thank you very much. Now, crucially, to answer his question, I'm still paying off my student loans. If you like my CV was made possible because of student loans that private sector provided. If that wasn't possible, if I didn't have that credit, I will not be standing here. I will have no future. Not the same future you think I have today. So thank you to the private sector for giving me and millions of other student loans. The private sector gives us much more. Do you like his jacket, by the way? He is looking pretty good. That is paid for by the private sector. And he's not renouncing them. I don't hear any non-profit leaders buying only their clothes from the non-profit sector or the government sector, even in the Soviet Union. You want private sector stuff. You can do more, be more, and you can vote B because of the private sector. Now, very quickly, some other fact he gave you, which was completely wrong. Do you even listen to young people? He clearly doesn't. We've already asked them what they want from work. Shaperssurvey.org. Please go there. The data is free. I'm serious. We asked them, when you're looking for a job, what do you want? You know what he said was number 4? Outright number 1. Money. They want to be paid. Number 1. And you can check the data yourself. And we've run the survey many years. Number 2, purpose. Purpose is number 2. And number 3, growth. If you want to talk about young people, you must listen to them. And please, don't let them mislead you. On the motion, is business bad for young people? Business helps us to do more. I don't know what airline you flew with to get here. It was probably run by the private sector. Business helps us to be more. Vote B. Thank you.
The lady on the left. Next one.
Hello, my name is Leah. I'm a principal from the northern part of Australia. And I would just like to make comment to the opposition. In recent years in Australia, the richest woman who basically controls mining has swayed our country for no mining tax. But instead, the government then also tried to bring in a carbon tax to help the environment. But our big corporations wouldn't let that happen. But what did happen is our vulnerable, the people that are struggling to work, ended up having to get all of their penalty rates don't exist in our country anymore. So this is what business has done for Australia. And I'd like to say that Western Australia, where the richest woman lives, has one of the most marginalised groups of people in the world. And that's how much corporations have done for them.
Thank you.
I'll speak to that. And I was very clear in my comments earlier that we on this side of the House are only asking for texture in this debate. We're not asking for people to think that business is always perfect. But for every example, and I don't know your example, but I take it at face value that you give, I'll give you that I sit on the UK body that is delivering the fastest rate of minimum wage rises in the world right now with the support of the British business community. So business can do more and be more for people. The critical thing is the quality of our public debate, because politicians ultimately make the decisions. And that is absolutely critical in all of these spaces. Business absolutely has a duty to behave in the right way. But we need to get over the boo, it's all money, it's all lobbying, it's all kowtowing to business lobbyists. I've worked as a business lobbyist for 15 years. I lose 80% of the time in discussions to consumer interest groups. That's probably how a democracy should work. And we try, as an organisation, not to take a narrow view at the Confederation British Industry. So let me just say that in well-governed spaces, business is an unalloyed good. Where we have poorly governed spaces, more broadly, or poor political decision-making, yes, there is room for people to game the system. But let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater when we talk about business. Otherwise, you're in a world where, who do you look for your productive capacity and your innovation? You look to the state. You look to the charitable sector. Hang on, where's the biggest corporate governance scandal in Europe right now? Oh, it's in the British charity sector, so it can't be the profit motive. So we need to be absolutely clear that there is failure on all our parts. I wouldn't be a CBI guy speaking at an event without mentioning Friedrich Hayek, so I'm going to do it now. Hayek said, it's all about us as individuals. And if you constantly look to the state for your answers, that is the road to one thing, the end of freedom. We believe in the individuals on this side of the house. Business is about individualism, and yes, absolutely, we should challenge corporatist interests where they're not acting in the case of individuals. And actually, good business voices, such as my friend here, would happily do that. I'll put him on a flight to Darwin straight away.
Thank you.
Thank you
so much. Madam, I was really moved.
Order. Just one speaker, please. Lady over there.
Thank you very much. My name is Josephine Saidu from Sierra Leone. I'm working towards launching Teach for Sierra Leone. I've been in the corporate world for about 5 years, working for one of the leading mining companies, that's London Mining, in Sierra Leone. And whilst you're debating, I kind of like, you're driving me off the fence where I sat for quite a while. But when I think about the tax havens and most of the things they normally just shy away from, it really pains me. And for me, I think as a national that have loyalty to my people and my country, I know how much the business can get, but what do they give back to the community is my concern. So when it comes to behaving as a socially responsible corporation, that's my issue. So I want you, how can you literally convince me to go back to serving in the corporate world, or maybe, let's say, this is an education forum, as you rightly mentioned. How can you be able to get kids to say, the corporate world is attractive, but what sort of exemplary platform or target are you leaving for those kids to say, the corporate world is nice, but practicing or operating as a socially responsible individual or corporation is a serious problem, because you cannot be extracting and not giving back to the community. And that's one of the things for us in Sierra Leone. Education, there's nothing there, the companies left back, health facilities, nothing.
Thank you very much. I'm going to take those 2 points and bring them together. Now, I am an economist by training. And this means I was fortunate in my career to serve as a technical advisor for economic growth to my country's finance minister. My responsibility was fiscal incentives. I want to build on the point that the right honorable gentleman made about the decisions being made by government. Now, I received one day, and I want to show you I really feel your pain. I received one day a memo from a corporation asking, please pay attention, because this was in writing. It wasn't over coffee, but please pay attention. This corporation requested a 5% tariff on all its competitors in that specific sector, while at the same time asking for a complete waiver of duties and any taxes on its own imports and production. Did you hear me clearly? All right, so this was passed to me as the economist. I was told to analyze this. I took one look at it. I felt your pain. And you don't have to be an economist to analyze this. Is this a good idea? Thank you. Was this passed? Yes, it was. Who made the decision? Thank you. And you have your answer for Australia, you have your answer for Sierra Leone. Our debate today is business bad for young people? Please, let's do more, let's be more, and vote B. Thank you.
We're going to have the last question.
Not to be cynical, Yemi, but why the politician make that decision?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
We're going to have the last question.
Thank you,
and
Mr.
then
Speaker.
the closing remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm Honorable David Ochola from Kenya. I'm a legislator. I think if it was my opinion, this motion should be defeated and dropped immediately.
Thank you. Yeah.
Reason, without business, there's no country can prosper. A good example is Dubai. I believe most of corporates and business entities are the people who have built this city to look like it. But the thing we need to discuss is the legislation mechanism on how to ensure these people does not evade tax. When they come to a community, how are they going to benefit direct? For a good example, in my country, Kenya, whenever an investor comes, like in my area, I have tallow oil. When they came, we sat down and we put down the framework and policy on how they are going to operate. You dig your oil, do your business, but first thing you must ensure that you train our community, you employ a percentage of our people, and a percentage of a tax which remain to that county, going to the national government and the one you are taking back to your country. So business is good for the future of young people, and this motion should be dropped and defeated the way it is. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Do you want to respond? Okay, so we're going to go for the closing remarks first. There was no response. You guys are, they don't want.
We're on the government side of the House. Good corporate governance is absolutely essential, and this party proposes to bring forward corporate governance legislation on condition that the House defeats the motion.
So after this brief intervention, we're going to have, Kehkashan is going to close the remarks for the four team, and then it's you, Yemi? Thank you, Kehkashan. Yeah, 3 minutes.
I think the first thing that we would like to say is that we're not advocating for our businesses to shut down. We're advocating for them to change their mindsets towards young people. And I think, well, thanks. And I think that out of everything that we've heard here, a lot of it is directed towards the young people, the millennials who do have some kind of opportunity. But what about those that don't have the opportunity to have their voices heard? According to the 2017 report of the International Labour Organization, on any given day, there are 152 million child laborers, and 73% of that are in hazardous work. And out of that 152 million, you have people under the age of 17 who are working in the agricultural industry, in the industrial sector, and in the services sector. So the question is, who will safeguard the rights of the future generations, especially the ones that don't have a voice? We were talking about taxes, but even the industries that did pay their taxes and employ child labor, that is not exactly a solution now, is it? So who is going to safeguard the rights of these future generations? Who will remind the CEOs and policymakers about their obligations for the people who don't have a voice, the children who don't have a voice? Because the future generations can't survive on history. They need the same pristine resources that we enjoy today. And who will stand up and ensure that the three pillars of sustainability, economic, social, and environmental, work and grow together in harmony? As William Shakespeare said, it's not in the stars to hold our destiny, but in ourselves. If we are to save our tomorrow, we need to take action today. And the onus is upon all of us to shake off this veil of complacency and indifference and act with decisiveness to safeguard the rights of the future generations. And I ask you to vote for this motion, because as a 17-year-old, as a young person, as technically a child, I have seen the refugee camps. I have seen the salt pans of India, the run of Kutch, how the children are treated over there, how they don't have any identity. And most of it is because of these corporations. Yes, there are corporations that are doing good, but exceptions don't make the rule. But it is important for you to vote for A, because think about the future of the children who don't have a voice. Thank you.
Thank you, Kehkashan. You have your 3 minutes for closing remarks, Yemi. 3 minutes for closing remarks.
All right, thank you very much. I think we can all agree that they came prepared for the wrong debate. We all want business to change. But our choice here, with the agency we have, is to discuss, is business bad for young people? I think time and again, we've shown that business allows you to do more and be more. And you can vote B. I'm happy you remember it. There's much I want to say, but in the short time, I want us to understand that as a young person, agency is about being safe to try, being safe to fail. When you are stuck, where do you go? As a young person, which of the sectors in society are you looking to break into to make it? Is it government? Is it the NGO sector? For most young people, it's actually the private sector. And if we slam this motion, we are destroying the opportunity. A lot of these corporations are built by young people. I was driven here today by a young person who was born here. Unfortunately, he's from a small town in Pakistan. Life has gotten hard. And now he has to go back because of government policy. Even though this is the only country he knows, once his job visa ends, he has to go back. That's government bad decisions. It's not the big taxi company. He has to go back. But when he goes back, what's he going to do? He's going into business. He has a daughter and he has a wife. He's going into business to make a better life for his family. We cannot say business is bad for young people. Please, don't be bedazzled. They are arguing a different case. And on that different argument, we might stand with them. Business must change. But on the case that is business bad for young people, there is one answer. To conclude, I want us to travel to the homeland of the Right Honorable Basu. In 1919, the British government passed the Rowlatt Act. It allowed the Raj to imprison anybody suspected of sedition without trial. I want you to think, if a young person decides government is doing it wrong, am I safe to try and safe to fail in changing government? There was an activist, young at heart, and with a great soul, who tried. And he started a whole stream, a nationwide protest of non-violent disobedience.
Seconds.
Thank you. Now, February 22nd, he started the latest one. And on March 10th, he was arrested when there was some violence that broke out. And he admitted, I tried and I failed. I'm sorry. I wanted to change something. I tried and I failed. Do you know what they did to him? On this day, today, 18th of March, 1922, Mahatma Gandhi was jailed today because he tried and he failed in the government sector. Is he safe to try the same way he can in the private sector?
Time.
No, he's not. Thank you. So please, do more, be more, and vote B. Business is good for young people. Thank you.
Thank you, Yemi. Well, before going for the final vote, I want to thank the two teams, 4 speakers, but especially you, all of you, for being here today, asking the questions and engaging in this important conversation and trying to think if corporations are really destroying young people's future. So now grab again the keyboard and let's see, you will have 10 seconds. A for, B against, and C undecided. Let's run the clock. There you go. Ooh. We have a winner 4. Thank you all.